Christmas Stories from Grandma's Attic by Arleta Richardson. Illustrated by Kulin-Sandel. Chapter 3. Christmas Spirit. I shook the snow off the holly berries and sniffed the cold air appreciatively. "Aren't you glad we don't live where it's always cold or always hot?" I asked Ma. "I suppose you could get used to anything," Ma replied. "But yes, I'm always happy with a change of seasons. It wouldn't seem like Christmas to me without snow." "I'll believe Christmas is here when the schoolhouse is decorated and the program ready," I said. "It's going to be so pretty this year. We're going out today to cut greens and find a tree. This holly would look nice too, wouldn't it?" Ma agreed that it would. "Mabel, take the milk to the house and I'll cut some holly for you," she offered. I took the milk pail and started up the lane when something occurred to me. "I don't ever remember you handing me the milk pail without warning me not to spill it," I said. "Does that mean you think I'm a more dependable age now?" "It means you're at an age where you can clean up after yourself," Ma laughed. "You learn to be careful in a hurry when you have to mop the floor and wash your own clothes." The morning at school dragged. Steam rose from the wet mittens arranged around the hot stove, and everyone who passed a frosted window had to put a wet finger on it to trace the pattern of the ice. "Isn't it almost noon?" Wesley said. "We have too much Christmas spirit to pay attention to schoolwork." "Oh?" said Miss Gibson. "Just what is Christmas spirit, anyway?" "Peace on earth, goodwill to men," Sarah Jane answered glibly. "With maybe a little fun thrown in just for the fun of it." "I understand your impatience," Miss Gibson admitted. "This is a special time of year and it is fun, but I hope we can learn something about the true meaning of Christmas too. Let's stop and eat now, and then we'll go look for a tree." Everyone was in favor of that, and we ran to collect and open our lunch pails. "Oh dear!" cried Belinda. "My sandwich is frozen." "We can fix that," Miss Gibson told her. "Unwrap your sandwich and lay it on the lid of your dinner pail. Then we'll put that on the coal shovel and stick it in the stove. It will soon be toasty and warm." That worked so well that the rest of us wanted to try. Hot cornbread," Warren said. "This is almost as good as being home." "And doesn't it smell just like a kitchen?" I put in. "There are a lot of things that cook on the stove all day. Why couldn't we have a hot dinner right here?" "Soup is good," Sarah Jane chimed in. "It could simmer away while we work." "That sounds delightful," Miss Gibson agreed. "But how much work would we get done between sniffs?" "Not much," we laughed. "It's hard enough now to wait for noontime." Everyone finished eating in record time, and we were soon bundled up and ready to go. The woods behind the school always produced the most beautiful branches and a tree that was just the right size. Each class made decorations and tried to keep them a secret until the day came to hang them on the tree. Sarah Jane and I were the only 8th graders, and since Wesley was alone in the 7th grade, Miss Gibson suggested that he join us. "I can see his contribution right now," Sarah Jane confided. "An apple with a bite out of it, or a gingerbread man with a leg missing." "You're probably right," I agreed. "He does love to eat. Maybe we can get him to carve a wooden cookie and paint it." It was sheltered in the woods and didn't seem quite as cold. When we had gathered all the branches we could carry, we trudged back to the schoolhouse. "We'll leave the tree and greens outside," Miss Gibson decided. "They'd dry out pretty fast in the warm room. Let's start working on the ornaments, shall we?" Just before dismissal time, we drew names for presents. Each year, Miss Gibson would put all our names in a box, and we would each bring a Christmas gift for the person whose name we drew. We weren't allowed to put a name back unless we picked our own. "I hope I don't get your name," I said to Sarah Jane. "And I'd rather not have Warren Carter's either." "It's nice to be included in such intelligent company," she replied, "but I'm not exactly flattered." "Oh, you know what I mean. I give you a present anyway. I don't want you to get mine either." "I know," Sarah Jane nodded. "I was kidding." On the way home, Sarah Jane said, Well, my present isn't going to be hard to fix. A big box of candy will do nicely. Wesley, I guessed. Right. I'll make some chocolate fudge and some divinity. Whose name did you get? Hannah's. I'd like to think of something to give her that would make her smile. You'll never do it, Sarah Jane said emphatically. She has absolutely no Christmas spirit. Just hope she doesn't get your name. I heard her say she wouldn't bring a gift if she didn't get a name she wanted. Want to trade with me? No, thank you. At least Wesley can be depended upon to like what he gets, provided it stands still long enough for him to eat it. Do you think we ought to tell Miss Gibson about Hannah? I asked. We don't want the party to be ruined. I don't think Hannah would really do what she said, Sarah Jane replied. She likes to complain, but she's not mean. I suppose you're right. Anyway, this is too nice a day to worry about it. There's a whole week of school until Christmas vacation, I said to Ma as we got supper. I wonder if I can wait that long. I think it's possible, Ma replied. Do you want to know how to make the time seem to go faster? Oh, yes. How can I do that? Plan to get more things done than you have time to finish, Ma said. I know that works because I've been doing it for years. I have plenty to work on, I said. I have to finish Sarah Jane's gift and make something for Hannah, not to mention make Christmas gifts for the family and get ready for the Christmas program. You won't have a problem waiting, Ma laughed. That's already enough activity for 2 weeks. Miss Gibson allowed us time to work on Christmas projects and overlooked the extra noise and restlessness. The decorations for the tree were better than they had ever been. Even the first graders' strings of cranberries and popcorn were longer and prettier. Wesley, Sarah Jane inquired one afternoon, where are the rest of the candy canes for the tree? I guess I ate a few, he confessed. A few? There are only 2 here and we started out with 10. Now what do we do? I'll get Ma to make some cookies to hang up, Wesley promised. I'll bring them in the morning. If I believed that, I'd believe anything, Sarah Jane muttered. You could eat a dozen cookies between your house and the road. I'll stop by and get them myself to be sure they get here. Honestly, Wesley, I said, by the time you're ready to graduate, they'll have to roll you out of the schoolhouse. Wesley grinned. What would a growing boy be without an appetite? I don't know, I replied. I've never seen one. The week did pass swiftly, as Ma had predicted. With her help, I had made a pretty Christmas apron for Hannah. It was wrapped in green tissue paper and tied with red ribbon. The program was ready, too. The older pupils are putting on a play instead of reciting pieces, I told the family. It's a Christmas story, but I can't tell you about it because it's a surprise. What are you? Santa Claus or one of the reindeer? Reuben teased. That is not funny, I replied stiffly. There is more to Christmas than Santa Claus. There's also a spirit of kindness and giving. Kindness? We could use a lot more of, Pa remarked, looking at Reuben. Suppose we show a little to the animals and bed them down for the night. Shall we, boys? I'll be home at noon tomorrow, I told Ma as we did the dishes. We have to be back early tomorrow evening to get everything ready for the program. I'm sure it will be just fine, Ma said. I'm looking forward to it. The program went off with hardly a mistake, and the time soon arrived for distributing the gifts. Wesley was chosen to hand them out as the names were called. He was born for the job, Sarah Jane whispered to me. All he lacks is the beard and red suit. One by one, the gaily wrapped presents were brought to their owners, who shook them and poked them to try to guess what might be inside. Mabel, yours must be clear at the bottom, Sarah Jane said. Either that or Hannah got my name, I joked. Finally, there was just one gift left. The name on it was David Ross. He was sick and hadn't come to the program. You didn't get one? Sarah Jane said in disbelief. I didn't think she really meant it. And I gave her that pretty apron. See if I ever do anything nice for her again. The rest of the evening didn't seem quite as exciting to me, and I was glad when it was time to go home. It's not just that I didn't get a present, I explained to Ma on the way home. "The worst part is that she embarrassed me in front of my friends. It just isn't fair. I wish I hadn't given her that apron." "Do you give a gift just to get one in return?" Ma asked me quietly. "Is that what the spirit of kindness and giving is all about?" "No, I guess it isn't," I answered. I was ashamed of myself for feeling as I did, but I was disappointed. It was hard to forgive Hannah for what she had done. On Sunday I had a cold and stayed home from church. When the family returned, Pa came over to the couch where I lay and dropped a box wrapped in tissue paper beside me.
"This is yours,"
he said.
"It's from David Ross. He had your name, but since he couldn't get to the program, his folks brought his gift to church today."
So Hannah hadn't gotten my name. I had wrongly accused her and been resentful about something that hadn't even happened. "I was sure I knew all about Christmas spirit," I told Sarah Jane when I saw her. "I feel awful for thinking such mean things about Hannah." "You should," Sarah Jane replied. "After all, you know it is more blessed to give than to receive. And since you can use all the blessings you can get, you'd better be sure to give me a Christmas present." End of chapter 3.